Good morning, folks, and we are back for our next story in Starfall. And because we have completed the Let's Read program, we're actually going to move on to our next level. So, looking at it's fun to read, I particularly like the art gallery because it does a nice job in terms of showing some pictures and some art that we wouldn't normally see. And for usage for children as young as grades kindergarten and 1 and 2, it's a really good exposure to them. So we're going to look at Vincent van Gogh first for today. Himself, picture of himself. And it starts off and it says Van Gogh painted this picture of himself. Does he look happy or sad? And this one is entitled Self Portrait with Straw Hat. And one of the things that really jumps out at me on this is you have to remember when Vincent van Gogh lived and when he painted, because he did not have access to a lot of the technology that we have today. He would not have necessarily had a camera that would have been able to take a colored picture of himself. He would not necessarily have been able to see a video of himself. Really, the only way that he would have been able to see himself is in reflections such as a mirror or even in a water puddle, and that type of thing. And so, as he's painting this, he's painting it from the image that he has in his head because he can't actually see himself as he's painting, other than a reflection perhaps off of a mirror. And so this is really a self interpretation. And so when we ask ourselves, draw a picture of ourselves, we're really giving a clue as to how we see ourselves and what we think of ourselves. And it's creating that self reflection, that self awareness that we're always talking about in school. And so as we look at this picture, does he look happy or sad? I would say he looks sad. His face certainly is um, kind of pensive. His eyes are really popping out, and so it looks like to me that he is thinking and being pensive and just really acting a little bit depressed and sad in this picture. The next one that we look at is entitled First Steps. And have you ever seen a baby take a first step? I've had that privilege. My son, I was there when he took his first step, and it was one where he you could see it starting to come because his legs were getting a little bit stronger. He was no longer sitting and crawling. That was one thing about my son, though, was oh my goodness, could he crawl fast? He was just a blur once he got going and had no fear. The amount of times that he would run into walls with his head when he was crawling at top speed was just crazy. But eventually he got to the point where his legs got strong enough, he was able to stand up, normally with the help of a wall. And then he got to a point where he would just kind of stand there and wobble a little bit. And eventually he got enough strength in his hips and his legs that he was able to take that first step. And that's what you see here is that's such a major milestone in the development of a child. And everybody here is really excited to see it. And then finally, probably his most famous one was called Starry Night. And when he was interviewed, Van Gogh said, I dreamed my painting and then I painted my dream. And have you ever made a picture of a dream? And so if you're looking for something to do during our school at home, this is a great art assignment that you could certainly do is number one, draw a picture of yourself and what you look like. Then you could draw a picture of a big accomplishment or something that you've been able to do in your life that you really remember well and what it looked like and who was there. And then finally, Have you ever had a dream? Can you think of a dream that you've had and can you draw that picture? And so that is something that you could certainly do. And if you want to share it, feel free to email it to me. Thank you very much. Bye. And I made a slight mistake here because I forgot we actually have our word still. So we're going to take two words, my self, myself, yourself, yourself, herself, herself, himself, himself, itself, itself. And I think that brings us to the end this time. Thank you very much. We'll see you next week.